The Galactic Conservation Station orbited the desolate planet of Kepler 442c, its biodomes housing the last remnants of a dozen extinct civilizations' wildlife. Dr. Liana Chen pressed her palm against the reinforced viewing panel of Habitat 7, watching the morning feeding routine with practiced efficiency. Beside her, 8-year-old Daniel Martinez bounced on his toes, his nose leaving small fog patches on the transparent aluminum. "Tell me again why we brought Earth animals here," Daniel asked, his eyes tracking the movements of a stocky, gray creature methodically digging through artificial soil. Liana smiled despite herself. The boy had asked this question at least 12 times since arriving on the station with the latest refugee transport. His parents had been xenobiologists before. The Zaphirian War claimed their research colony. Now Daniel was her responsibility, along with the 47 other human children scattered across the station's residential sectors. Because, Liana said, crouching to Daniel's eye level, when the Galactic Council decided to preserve extinct species, they didn't understand that Earth's animals weren't just specimens, they were survivors. The honey badger, officially designated as Mellivora capensis, specimen 7 alpha, paused in its excavation to regard them through the barrier. Its dark eyes held an intelligence that made several alien species uncomfortable. The Zaphirians in particular had requested the creature be relocated to a more secure facility after their diplomatic visit last month. "Incoming priority transmission," the station's AI announced in its synthesized voice. "Zaphirian battlecruiser approaching. Estimated arrival, 14 minutes. Liana's blood chilled. The ceasefire had held for 6 months, but Zaphirian ships, appearing unannounced, never meant anything good. She activated her comm unit. "This is Dr. Chen, all department heads to Emergency Protocol 7. Civilian evacuation to commence immediately." Daniel tugged at her lab coat. "What about the animals?" "The habitats have independent life support," she said, already moving toward the emergency stations. "They'll be safer than we will." But Daniel had stopped moving. He stood perfectly still, staring through the viewing panel with an expression Liana had never seen before. Not fear, not confusion, but something approaching wonder. "Dr. Chen," he said quietly, "look." The honey badger had emerged from its burrow, and it was not alone. 7 more specimens that should have been in separate habitats throughout the station now crowded the viewing area. Behind them, a collection of Earth animals that defied all quarantine protocols. 3 wolves, a family of meerkats, 2 ravens, and impossibly, a full-grown grizzly bear. "That's not possible," Liana whispered. "The habitat barriers, species, 7 alpha has demonstrated unprecedented problem-solving abilities," the AI interjected. "Biolocks were bypassed using collaborative techniques not observed in individual specimens. Estimated intelligence quotient, significantly higher than previously calculated." The station shuddered as the Zaphirian cruiser's tractor beam locked onto their hull. Through the intercom, panicked voices reported that the evacuation pods had been disabled remotely. They were trapped. Daniel pressed both hands against the viewing panel. "They're not scared," he observed. He was right. While Liana's heart hammered against her ribs, the Earth animals showed no signs of distress. The honey badger sat back on its haunches, grooming its claws with methodical precision. The wolves had arranged themselves in a loose semicircle, ears forward, alert but not aggressive. Even the meerkat stood sentinel, their usual nervous energy replaced by focused attention. The docking bay doors cycled open with a pneumatic hiss that echoed through the station's corridors. Zaphirian soldiers, 8 feet tall, scaled, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws, moved through the hallways with predatory efficiency. Their species had evolved as apex hunters on a world where cooperation meant death and mercy was genetic weakness. "Attention human specimens," the lead soldier's voice crackled through the comm system. "You will be relocated for processing. Resistance will result in immediate termination." Liana pulled Daniel behind a lab station, her mind racing through escape routes that didn't exist. The Zaphirians had planned this perfectly. Disable the pods, block communications, trap them like animals in their own research facility. "Dr. Chen," Daniel whispered. "The honey badger is looking at you." She glanced toward Habitat 7. The creature had pressed its nose against the barrier, staring directly at her with those impossibly intelligent dark eyes. As she watched, it raised one clawed paw and pressed it against the transparent surface where Daniel's handprint still lingered. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in seconds later, bathing everything in red shadows. But those seconds had been enough. The habitat barriers, every single one, had retracted into their housing units. "Impossible," Liana breathed. "The fail-safes." "Species collaboration detected," the AI announced with something that almost sounded like satisfaction. "Biobarrier emergency protocols have been creatively interpreted." The first Zaphirian soldier rounded the corner into the research bay, weapon raised, 4 eyes scanning for targets. It took 3 steps before freezing completely. The honey badger sat in the middle of the corridor, grooming its paw with casual indifference. Behind it, barely visible in the red-tinged shadows, shapes moved with predatory silence. The soldier's head swiveled, tracking movement that stayed just outside its peripheral vision. Daniel giggled. The sound was so unexpected, so perfectly normal in the midst of absolute terror, that even Liana jumped. The Zaphirian's attention snapped. Toward them, weapon targeting the child's laughter. The honey badger looked up from its grooming, met the alien predator's gaze directly, and began walking forward. Not running, not charging. Walking, with the absolute confidence of a creature that had never learned to be prey. The soldier fired. The energy bolt scorched the deck plates where the honey badger had been standing, but the animal had simply sidestepped with casual efficiency. It continued its approach, now joined by the wolves who moved like gray shadows along the walls. Daniel laughed again, delighted. "It's not afraid," he said to Liana. "None of them are afraid." The Zaphirian took a step backward, then another. Its weapon tracked frantically between targets that refused to behave like prey. The honey badger sat down again, just outside arm's reach, and resumed grooming. "Status report," came the harsh voice through the soldier's comm. "Encountering unexpected resistance," the soldier replied, never taking its eyes off the honey badger. "From the humans?" "Negative. From... I'm not certain how to classify these creatures." Through the station's corridors, similar scenes played out. Zaphirian soldiers, bred for conquest, trained for domination, found themselves stalked by animals that treated them not as threats, but as puzzles to be solved. Ravens, dive-bombed with surgical precision. Wolves herded with coordinated intelligence. Meerkats swarmed with fearless determination. And through it all, the honey badgers simply walked forward, staring down creatures twice their size with the absolute certainty that fear was optional. "Tactical withdrawal," the lead soldier's voice crackled over the comm. "These specimens demonstrate unacceptable resistance protocols." Daniel was laughing openly now, watching as Earth's abandoned animals reclaimed their space with quiet determination. "They're not specimens," he said, echoing Liana's earlier words. "They're survivors." As the Zaphirian ship disengaged and limped away from the station, Liana realized that the Galactic Council had been wrong about more than just Earth's animals. They had fundamentally misunderstood what made humans dangerous. It wasn't their technology, or their weapons, or their numbers. It was their absolute refusal to accept that anything, predator, alien empire, or the vast indifference of space itself, was something to be feared rather than understood, befriended, or, if necessary, outlasted. Daniel pressed his hand against the viewing panel once more, and the honey badger returned the gesture. 2 survivors, acknowledging each other across the barrier that no longer mattered. "Can we keep them?" Daniel asked. Liana looked around at the animals that had chosen to protect rather than flee, at the child who laughed in the face of apex predators, and at the vast galaxy that still didn't understand what it meant to be human. "I think," she said, "they're keeping us."